I'm here to make a statement, gonna be heard loud and clear. I'm gonna take this moment and show the world what I'm made of. I'm gonna rise to the challenge and take control of what I feel. I'm gonna show them I'm fearless, my story's just beginning to unfold.
Hello good people, thank you very much for tuning again. Today I'm so happy and I welcome you back to our channel. Today we are looking at what North Korea does not want you to see. North Korea is a very peculiar country. They do things on their own and not much is getting into publicity. So guys, let's get straight away and see what we have here. Thank you.
Well, North Korea fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles as a part of a tactical nuclear strike drill on Wednesday.
North Korea has always been a mystery. This place is one of the most isolated countries in the world. The truth is, most people don't know anything about this strange land. But we've dug out some of the most shocking facts about this oddball nation in this video. And you better believe North Korea doesn't want us to tell you about this stuff.
Outside analysts describe the vote every 5 years as a ritual.
From the army of teens who serve the leader to the pretty corrupt election system, here's 20 dark secrets North Korea doesn't want you to know about. Number 20. Kim Jong-un's Army of Teens. North Korea is a country with a lot of strict rules and a lot of secrets. For many of its people, life is hard day to day because of things like food and energy shortages, public executions, and constant propaganda. But life is very different for a small group of women. They're thought to number between 30 and 40 individuals. This most certainly is what North Korea doesn't want you to see. These women, who are part of the Gepeumjo, or Happiness Squad, are chosen to make Kim Jong-un, the supreme leader, and his close friend group happy. In exchange for their work, they're given nice places to live and lots of money and household luxuries. I'll let you use your imagination, but as you might imagine, these women have to pay a pretty hefty price for those rights. They're pretty much pushed into this job, and the powerful elite expects them to do whatever they want. And refusing is not a choice, because the results could be pretty awful, like putting your entire family to death. Kim Jong-un's grandpa, Kim Il-sung, started the practice of sending out pleasure teams in the 1970s. For decades, nobody knew that these teams existed. However, defector stories have shed light on this dark part of North Korean society. Even though the practices stopped for a short time, it started up again in 2015, disproving the theory that it stopped because of Western influence. Instead, it continues in the dark, giving a creepy look into the secret lives of North Korea's ruling class. For something a little bit less creepy, how about you like and subscribe to our channel? That is, if you want to find out more mind-blowing facts about stuff like North Korea. Don't worry, Kim Jong-un won't find out. It's our little secret. Number 19. North Korean elections. In North Korea, elections for the Supreme People's Assembly are held every 4 to 5 years. Votes for the local people's assemblies are held every 4 years. However, big surprise, international observers don't think much of these elections. This is because all the seats are won by the Democratic Front for the Reunification of Korea, which in turn is controlled by the ruling Workers' Party of Korea. People say that turnout is close to 100% and that almost everyone agrees with the candidates, but a lot of people have said that these elections are fake because there isn't ever any real competition or even choice. Critics say these elections are more like a political census, because places aren't really up for grabs. There aren't really any alternatives. If you don't vote for the approved candidate, you could be charged with treason. This could result with stuff like losing your job. Even though the elections look like they're fair, they end up strengthening the power of the party in charge. Number 18. North Korean hackers. A recent study showed that in 2022, hackers stole a huge $3.8 billion worth of crypto. This was the most ever stolen in 1 year. Hacking activity went up and down over the year, but there were big jumps in March and October. October was the worst month for hacking cryptocurrency, with $775.7 million stolen in 32 different attacks. Hackers with ties to North Korea, especially the Lazarus Group, were responsible for a pretty massive chunk of the crypto that was stolen in different attacks. Over 82% of the stolen coins came from decentralized finance systems, which were the hackers' top choice. Using the Ethereum blockchain, DeFi apps allowed crypto-based lending outside of standard banking systems. As hacking methods get harder to pull off successfully, experts think that hackers will find them less useful over time. But for now, this is a major way for North Korea to generate funds. Number 17. Traffic cops. The famous traffic ladies of Pyongyang keep an eye on the busy streets. These young women, dressed in stylish blue uniforms and black shoes, march with purpose, directing traffic. They are chosen.
So, you have an idea for your own business or side hustle and need to build a web app with custom functionality? Welcome to
based on how they look. This has to be in line with the established ideals of society, but they can only do this job for a short time. They have to leave at age 26 or if they get married. The correct name for these women is traffic security officers, and they're actually officers in North Korea's security forces. Even though most crossings now have traffic lights, they still direct traffic and show serious commitment to their jobs. They do more than just handle traffic, they're also representatives for the main city. Tourists and journalists love to take pictures of the traffic girls because they represent Pyongyang. They say their dedication comes from how much they respect their leader. This constant commitment keeps them going, even when they have to go through hard training sessions. They stand tall as symbols of discipline and loyalty in a country known for its traditional values and respect for its leaders. Traditional values. Where else do I hear that a lot? Number 16. North Koreans are not allowed to laugh, drink, or shop for 11 days. As North Korea remembered the 10th anniversary of Kim Jong-il's death in 2021, people were not allowed to laugh, or drink alcohol, or do other fun stuff for 11 days. Imagine that. It's longer than you probably think. On December 17th, the day that the elder Kim died, you couldn't even go food shopping. North Koreans take grief very seriously, and breaking the rules can lead to arrest and severe punishment. Kim Jong-un led the events to honor his father. He wore a trendy black leather trench coat. North Koreans all over stood still and bowed as a sign of respect to their former leader. Kim allegedly ordered other people not to wear leather coats like his. People have seen fashion cops going around the streets to take away any coats like this that they saw people wearing. He does not want to have a wardrobe clash with anyone. It's important. Number 15. North Korean TV. The North Korean Central Broadcasting Committee and the Propaganda and Agitation Department of the Workers' Party of Korea have strict control over what's shown on TV in North Korea. Almost every home has a TV. You can get both traditional and digital feeds over the air. For analog TV, PAL 576i systems D and K are used, and for digital TV, DVB T2 is used. Korean Central Television, Mansudai Television, Yongnamsong Television, and Athletic Television are the 4 biggest TV stations. They are, of course, all owned by the government. North Korea cleverly only sells TV with PAL and DVB T2 systems, so people can't watch shows from South Korea or even China. That's right, can you imagine? They don't want North Koreans seeing what's happening in that liberal paradise of China. Whew. North Korean government has a tight control over what's said on the air. Most of what it says praises the country's leader and spreads state propaganda. There are a lot of educational and journalistic shows, and the standard of shows has, in fact, been getting better over time. North Koreans can also watch weather reports on TV to learn about climate change and how weather affects the economy. Number 14. North Korea Camp 22. Camp 22 in North Korea is one of the most brutal prisons in Asia. It's 87 square miles and holds about 50,000 prisoners, most of whom are there for questioning the government in some way and ending up with a life sentence as their answer. Electric gates, barbed wire, traps, and armed guards protect the huge buildings. Inmates have to deal with tough conditions. This includes hard labor, small amounts of food, and regular beatings. Recently, it was said that Camp 22 closed after the camp's warden and another soldier fled to China. The warden's decision to leave is serious because the job is very important and it's handed out directly by the National Security Agency. This means the warden may have secret information about high-ranking officials. Camp 22 became known for how badly it treats prisoners, including beatings every day and other forms of torture. It was shocking when outsiders learned that 20 to 25% of prisoners each year because of the conditions. This sad truth shows how oppressive North Korea's government is, and how far it will go to quiet criticism and keep control over its people. Because these camps are kept secret, it's hard to fully understand what the people who went there are held through. Number 13. North Korea power outages. In January of 2014, an astronaut took this picture of North Korea and its neighbors. It was shot from the International Space Station. The picture shows that South Korea and China had bright city lights, while North Korea was pretty dark. North Korea has made some progress in lighting up at night over the past few years, but it's done so more slowly than its richer neighbors. Kim Jong-un's building projects, like industry centers, housing projects, and construction sites, line up with the newly lit areas. This is clear in places like Samgyeong, where whole towns can now be seen as tiny dots on nighttime images. Even though the country is trying to generate more energy, there's not always enough supplies. The newly finished Orongchong power plant, which took 40 years to build, is one step towards solving this problem. But North Korea's night lights are still not as good as those in Myanmar and other developing countries. Solar and green energy solutions are helping to fill some gaps, but there's still big changes that have to be made. North Korea's main energy problems are caused by a few things. A lack of infrastructure, international isolation, and a lack of access to modern technology are the main ones. The country's power problems are made worse by the fact that it uses outmoded energy systems. Number 12. The punishment of 3 generations. North Korean law is based on something called 3 generations of punishment. This means that if someone is found guilty of a crime, not only they, but also their children and grandkids will have to pay for it. This policy is a brutal way for the regime to keep a tight grip. If someone's found guilty of a crime under this method, their whole family can end up being screwed for decades. The whole family can even end up in jail because of the acts of one person. Your sentence might be hard labor in prison camps for the rest of your life, even though it was your granddad who broke the rules. Human rights groups and the rest of the world have criticized the 3 generations of punishment policy. They say it's cruel and doesn't respect human rights. North Korea's jail camps, which are also called Kwanliso, have been the focus of many human rights reports that describe the harsh conditions and serious violations of human rights that happen there. Number 11. North Korea's religion. In its constitution, North Korea says people have freedom of religious beliefs, but in fact, the country is an atheist state, and the government restricts religious practices. When people try to follow their faith, they face meddling and repression. Unauthorized religious groups are especially at risk, and people who try to convert others or have ties to foreign Christian groups that work in China are arrested and given harsh punishments. Defectors claim that members of secret Christian churches have been arrested and even executed by the state. North Korea's control over religion is part of a larger plan to keep tight political control and stop any possible resistance. The government wants everyone to just be loyal to the Kim family. It also wants adherence to the Juche state philosophy, which puts self-reliance and loyalty to the state above everything else. Number 10. Being cut off from the rest of the world by force. The people of North Korea are completely cut off from the rest of the world by their own government. It's against the law to leave the country without permission from the government, and those caught trying to leave face harsh punishments like torture, forced work, or life in political prison camps. Even officials and athletes who are allowed to go abroad are closely watched and given an ideological debriefing when they return. Normal North Korean people don't have much contact with people from other countries. People hired by the government usually follow foreigners who come to the country. Serious problems can occur if you even hang out with outsiders or have any kind of unauthorized contact. This is a key part of the regime's power over its people, because it keeps them from hearing other ideas or even just getting information that might make them question the state's propaganda and ideology. North Koreans are taught from a young age to worship their leaders and respect the government. This is done through constant messaging and spying. Number 9. North Korea's internet rules are weird. North Korea has a tight hold on information and technology. This is clear in the way it controls access to the internet. In North Korea, you need permission from the local government to even own a computer, and all personal computers must be registered with the police. It's similar to owning a dangerous weapon like a shotgun in most countries. Most. Fax machines are also not allowed to be owned by regular people, and to send a single fax, you need permission from a high-level official. Pirated DVDs of South Korean TV dramas, you might ask? Well, those could get you a tough term in a work camp, even if you're just caught with them, not selling. Even with all of these tight rules, North Korea does have internet access, though it's very restricted and closely monitored. The Kwangmyong is North Korea's version of the internet. It's a tightly controlled and limited network that's different from the rest of the internet. The material on their internet is highly filtered, and the government chooses and controls the information to make sure it fits with the state's beliefs. Why North Korea lets people use the internet at all is kind of a mystery. Some experts think it helps the government keep an eye on and spy on its own people. Others think it could be used for cyber warfare against the computer systems of other countries. North Korea has its own operating system called Red Star OS, which is a greatly altered form of Linux. The government promotes this operating system to keep a tighter grip on how computers are used in the country. Number 8. Juche. The Juche calendar is North Korea's unique way of counting the years. It's based on the Juche ideology. The calendar begins with the birth of Kim Il-sung. This makes Juche 1 the year 1912 on the Gregorian calendar. The calendar was made public 3 years after Kim Il-sung died in 1993. The Juche philosophy stresses self-reliance and praising Kim Il-sung and his successors. Essentially, that means always worship the leading family, and they won't be lifting a finger to help you. On the 3rd anniversary of Kim Il-sung's death in 1997, an order was passed that made the Juche calendar official. This order also made Kim Il-sung's birthday the Day of the Sun. On September 9th of 1997, the day of the foundation of the Republic, the Juche calendar replaced the Gregorian calendar in official papers, media, and public records. The fact that North Korea uses the Juche calendar shows how much the government values the cult of personality around its leaders. The calendar is a powerful way to promote and remember Kim Il-sung and his followers in the culture and daily life of the country. Number 7. North Korea has hairstyles that everyone has to copy. Alright, get ready for this one. In North Korea, there are tight rules even about hairstyles, and both men and women can get in trouble if they don't follow the list of about 30 allowed hairstyles. The few options they're allowed are basically limited to old-fashioned hairstyles from the past, so you can't get modern styles like spiky hair or layered cuts. The fact that the government controls haircuts is yet another example of how weird life is in North Korea. Citizens are closely watched, have limited freedom, and face harsh punishments just for trying to be themselves. Many North Koreans feel like they're living in a total nightmare because of this kind of odd policy. This is part of why some people attempt dangerous escapes to get a taste of freedom and better chances elsewhere. Strict rules about haircuts may seem strange and harsh to people outside of North Korea, but they're just a part of the everyday propaganda machine that the government uses to stay in power. Number 6. Blue jeans. Not allowed in North Korea. Blue jeans are not allowed in North Korea because the government sees them as a sign of American imperialism and Western influence. By making these clothes illegal, the government wants to send a message that it does not like the West or the US. There's more fashion rules than just not wearing blue pants. The government decides what people can wear, so they stick to the government's ideas and so that foreign ideas don't seep into the country. The government's fixation on controlling what people wear seems part of a larger plan. It clearly wants to keep the country from knowing what life is like in the rest of the world. High shoes are considered too decadent to wear every day. Men aren't allowed to have long hair, and there are rules about how women's hair should be worn. Skirts and dresses that are longer than the knee are not allowed, and neither are clothes that are too tight or show too much skin. Strangely, the ban on blue jeans has led to a black market for Western-style clothes. Some North Koreans get blue jeans and other items that aren't allowed and wear them in secret as a way to rebel against the repressive government and accept symbols of freedom and modernity. Even though there are tight rules against blue jeans, there have been stories of North Korean leaders and government officials wearing blue jeans and other Western-style clothes in secret, despite the rules. This kind of double standard shows how different the lives of the ruling class and the lives of the regular people who have to follow the government's oppressive rules are. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? Number 5. There are strict rules about who can visit North Korea. The government keeps a tight grip on tourism in North Korea. All tours are set up and run by state-owned tourist offices, which are made up of 4 main companies. The majority of the tourists who come to the country are from China. You're only allowed to go to North Korea on a tightly controlled tour with a guide. During their stay, tourists are always with the guides.
Now it's time to go to the Pueblo, okay? Again, here please, we go back as
So they never get to be alone or explore on their own. The strict monitoring makes sure that guests follow the rules set by the government and don't do anything they consider wrong. But because of this level of control, tourists only get to see very staged versions of North Korea. Their schedules are carefully planned to show off official places, shops, and cultural events that make the country look good. People rarely get to talk to regular North Koreans, so outsiders may not get a good idea of how people live, or what the real situation is in the country. Even though there are a lot of rules, North Korea is still interesting to some daring tourists who want to see a very isolated and hidden country. It gives a look into a world that most strangers don't get to see, with its unique propaganda, building, and cultural history. North Korea and South Korea once ran a special vacation area called Kaesong Industrial Region together. But in 2016, when ties between the two Koreas got worse, this joint project stopped, and the zone was shut down. Number 4. It's against the law to make international phone calls. An Amnesty International study showed that the North Korean government has a tight grip on communication technology. This is especially true when it comes to countries they consider to be enemies. Spoiler, there's a lot of those. Surprisingly, North Korea has a mobile phone network with more than 3 million users. However, foreign calls are not allowed, and the network can only be used for local calls. North Koreans are not allowed to call family members who have left the country. Those who try to make these kinds of calls risk being sent to detention camps or political jails. Arnold Fang, who's a researcher for Amnesty International in East Asia, says that basic human needs, like being able to talk to family and friends, should never lead to arrest and punishment. The North Korean government's control over telecoms has been increasing recently. This is especially true since Kim Jong-un took power in 2011, as he perceives a growing threat from modern technology. Number 3. The death penalty can be given for not following the leader. South Korea's intelligence agency says that an anti-aircraft gun shot North Korea's defense minister, Hyung Yong-chol, for allegedly being disrespectful to the leader Kim Jong-un. That's a pretty intense way to die. The minister was in front of hundreds of officials. Hyun had been named Minister of the People's Armed Forces less than a year before, and had spoken at a security meeting in Moscow just before his death. He's thought to have lost his job/life because he didn't respect Kim Jong-un. This was due to him falling asleep at a military event, so he was arrested and executed without a trial. Anti-aircraft fire is a particularly brutal and violent way to kill someone. It's usually saved for high-ranking officials who have done something wrong and are being shown up by the leadership. The execution happened at a military school in North Pyongyang, and many people were there to see it. Number 2. North Korea has its own rules for basketball. Basketball in North Korea is not like any other game. Under Kim Jong-il's impact, the country's made its own rules, and they're different from international norms. One rule that stands out: slam dunks are worth 3 points. This also makes the game more exciting, and it turns every dunk into a big score. Also, 3-point shots have a whole different meaning in North Korea. If a 3-point shot is nothing but net, the team gets 4 points. This gives players a reason to try to make perfect shots. In North Korean basketball, free throw precision is also a big deal. If a person misses a free throw, they lose 1 point. This encourages them to get better at hitting from the line. Also, the last 3 seconds of a game can make a really big difference. A 3-pointer made during this period is worth an incredible 8 points, which means a well-timed shot can win the game from nowhere. Another interesting thing is that games can end in a tie, which is not what most basketball fans are used to seeing. These unusual rules show how North Korea looks at sports and how it wants to give its basketball players and fans a unique experience. In spite of their isolation, basketball is super popular there. The country even has its own professional basketball league. And in 2013, former NBA star Dennis Rodman played a game in their league. This strange event was the very first time since Kim Jong-un became leader of North Korea that an American met with him. Rodman's trips to North Korea certainly caused a stir in the global media. Rodman went to basketball games and even sang happy birthday to Kim Jong-un on a TV show. He said Kim would be his, quote, friend for life, and stood up for the boss when he was criticized. Even though Rodman tried, his basketball diplomacy didn't do much to improve ties between North Korea and the rest of the world. In recent years, Rodman's been going to North Korea less often. It seems like he's grown apart from his friend for life. Still, his strange relationship with Kim Jong-un remains a fascinating part of North Korea's, well, let's just say complicated relationship with the rest of the world. Number 1. North Korea has banned K-dramas. K-dramas have become very famous all over the world, thanks to their exciting narratives and amazing stars. But as you might have guessed, K-dramas are not allowed at all in North Korea, and haven't been for a long time. The North Korean government sees K-dramas and K-pop as a major threat to their ability to keep the people in line with their ideas. They don't want North Koreans to take up Gangnam Style. In 2022, upsetting news stories appeared online that showed how far the North Korean government has gone to impose the ban. 2 North Korean teens were supposedly put in public because they watched and shared K-dramas with other friends. This brutal event sent shockwaves around the world and brought attention to how cruel the government was. Previously, several children were sent to jail for watching Crash Landing on You, a famous K-drama about a South Korean princess and a North Korean soldier who fell in love. Even though K-dramas are banned, there is proof that some North Koreans are finding ways to watch them illegally, like smuggling DVDs from nearby countries like China. The fact that North Koreans are still able to watch K-dramas in secret shows how determined they are to have fun and stay in touch with the rest of the world. As we learn more about North Korea's dark secrets, we can't help but think about how hard life must be for its people. How can we help make people more aware of their plight? What part does pressure from other countries play in making things change?
Oh my, this is too much for the people of North Korea because they feel alienated from the other part of the world with those very draconian rules. I don't like that, but now what can they do because these are imposed on them by their leader. Guys, thank you for watching. See you again next time. Bye bye.
I'm here to make a statement, gonna be heard loud and clear. I'm gonna take this moment and show the world what I'm made of. I'm gonna rise to the challenge and take control of what I feel. I'm gonna show them I'm fearless, my story's just beginning to unfold.